Salam, hello, and welcome to another episode of Silly Points Cricket. We are again going to be doing this online. It's just been a really crazy past couple of days. Today's Valentine's Day, so dropping a video on Valentine's Day for all you people who did not have someone to celebrate it today with. We have got you covered, and if you did have someone to celebrate it with, maybe this can be your light bedtime viewing. I'm joined in the studio with Tawfiq. Tawfiq, how you doing? How did you do anything for Valentine's?
Yeah, we just kept it light, man. After Alhamdulillah, almost 10 years, so we just went for dinner. It's been pretty crazy with two kids, so even that was a mission.
Yeah, no doubt. But the PSL. So today we're going to be talking about what we think is worthwhile going into is a PSL midterm 11. We're going to pick 11 players who we think are the top performers of the PSL and sort of see if what Tawfiq thinks and what I think sort of line up. But before we do that, let's just look at the tables. It's getting... I think at the top, Lahore and Multan have cemented their spots, but it's getting interesting at the bottom.
Yeah, absolutely, Faizan. So like you said, Multan have cemented it. Lahore, there is still a chance for them to not make it to the playoffs, but it would be by net run rate, and it's extremely unlikely the way they're playing. I think they're pretty much got one foot in the door. Islamabad United are very likely they'll go through. It boils down to Quetta Gladiators and Peshawar Zalmi and Karachi Kings. Despite their efforts yesterday, I mean, they almost pulled it off to stay within having a shot at the playoffs, but no, now they're definitely out with 7 losses on the trot. Between Quetta Gladiators and Peshawar Zalmi, they play today. So that could be the deciding factor with only 3 games left. Whoever wins, I think, may as well just pretty much cement their spot, because after that, the games they've got are against either Multan or Islamabad or Lahore, the top 3. Quetta has a little bit of a better shot because they still have a game against Karachi that they can count on. But besides that, I think it's going to be today's game is going to be the decider here.
Right. So so Quetta plays Peshawar today.
Yeah.
Let's just look at the points table, for our predictions. I am still taking a commanding lead. You, for some reason, picked Karachi to win against some who was it? Quetta? Or was it?
It was Peshawar Zalmi, yeah.
Peshawar Zalmi, yeah. I honestly don't know why you picked that. I can sort of see it. Maybe it's like the law of averages, right? At some point, they've got to win.
Yeah, and I mean, if you see the way they played against Islamabad United with Qasim Akram, I mean, if they can play like that against Islamabad United, why couldn't they have pulled that off against Peshawar Zalmi? So I did it mostly, like you said, is based on law of averages. It's got to win one game, and who else to bet against besides Peshawar Zalmi, which are only at 6 points with a negative net run rate. So I thought if there was any way for me to catch up to you, that was it, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, no, that was. But we'll see what happens at the rest. But let's just go into the predictions for today. I think we're both taking. Did we predict this game yet?
Peshawar Zalmi and Quetta. No, I don't think we've predicted this yet.
Okay, I'm honestly going for a Quetta win.
I'm going with Peshawar this one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? Interesting. I just think Quetta is coming. Jason Roy is gonna tee off.
Yeah, I mean, he did in this first 2 games. Third one, he got a duck. So, and that credit to Shaheen, although it was a loose delivery down the leg side that he got caught in the back by. But it'll be interesting, honestly. Like with these T20s and the lower tier teams' performances, it's hard to say. One guy clicks. If Haider Ali clicks or if Shoaib Malik clicks, that might do it for Peshawar, honestly.
Right. All right, should be an exciting game. I'm actually gonna watch this one. So let's move into it then. The PSL midterm 11. Let's start off with your 11. Walk me through who you've got in terms of your top order batting lineup.
So from a batting lineup, it should come as no surprise. Honestly, if we could pick all openers, we would have, and that's kind of the flavor of T20, right? Majority of the run scorers are going to be the openers, with the power play being in, as well as the biggest hitters, and with such a short format, you typically send your best batsman up. But I took a little bit of a different stance where I did try to find a balance. So my opening pair are Fakhar Zaman and Shan Masood, both leading run scorers this season so far. Fakhar Zaman, I'm not surprised, but Shan Masood has, and we've talked about this on prior episodes, he's done phenomenally well. After that, I've got Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan. Granted, they're openers. I feel like they play roles that they could come as one down or two down. Babar Azam, just somebody that can anchor the innings, as well as Mohammad Rizwan. If the first few do fall down, he has the ability to be creative enough to just keep rotating the strike. Then I've got the big hitters. So I've got Tim David as number 5, and man, has this guy surprised me. So out of like 110 odd balls, he's got like 19 sixes, almost as many fours as well. He's like hitting a 6 every 6 balls. He's hitting a boundary every 3 balls. It's just phenomenal strike rate of 200 and consistently ending games. I've definitely got him in my 11. And then you've got Shoaib Malik as well. Just a little bit of experience in the innings, in the team, is always helpful. And he's been bowling relatively well as well, surprisingly. So economically, at least I should say, not necessarily wicket wise. So I've got him at 6. Then I've got our surprise package in Shadab Khan. From a standpoint of batting, this guy adds to the depth of the batting for this team. Mid-season 11. And bowling, everybody knows he's the highest wicket taker right now. And that will be followed by another big hitter that we found this season, and that is Khushdil Shah. He's been playing phenomenally. And then my last 3, I've ended it with David Wiley, Imran Tahir, and Shah Afridi. And so I've got 2 seamers and then 1 specialist spinner. And then you can call Shadab an all-rounder, Khushdil Shah an all-rounder, Shoaib Malik an all-rounder. So plenty of bowling options, plenty of batting depth, and that's my mid-season 11. But I do want to hear from you before I go over my super subs.
Yeah, so I think we'll leave the super subs for now, but if you look at my 11, it's pretty much the same, except I don't think there's any good reason to put Babar Azam in. I've replaced him with Zaman Khan, who I think is sort of probably the top 3 breakout players in the PSL, sort of an unknown quantity going in. Really saved Lahore in a few games with his last few overs where he's bowling. But yeah, for the most part, it's pretty self-explanatory. I think with like the rest of the players, I don't think we're missing anyone. There was no one when I was putting this team together where it's like a touch and go. But coming back to the Babar Azam thing, yeah, I'm going to have to take a very firm stance on this, which is he's scored runs and he's been Karachi's top scorer, but it's been very low impact type of scoring. I think he went in and he was playing in a no-lose type of situation where he could play exactly the way he wants, right? Because he's been told, go anchor the innings, play the full 20 overs, don't play too many risks. So by nature, he's been scoring the runs that he can, but I don't necessarily think those were impactful runs. In fact, I think none of them were, given Karachi's lost 7-0. So I don't think Babar Azam deserves to be in there at all, given the outcomes of his games.
Yeah, and on that front, I would argue that a man does not make a team. There's 11 in the team, and he's doing his role. He's fulfilling his duty. Yeah, he could do a little bit more, but that still doesn't guarantee a win. And you can see that in so many instances where players have done everything and more, like Shadab's inning of 90 runs, bringing them within inches of pulling a phenomenal victory and a historic run chase. But still, Islamabad United faltered. And so don't think that's good enough reason. I mean, he's got an average of 44. He's the fourth highest run scorer, and he's got a strike rate of 121. And by that exact token, why would you choose Mohammad Rizwan, which has a similar strike rate of a 120, and he's got an average of 44 as well? There's plenty of other people that could be wicket keepers and big hitters. So why exclude Babar but not Rizwan?
Right, and I think the answer to that is pretty simple. Is that I think it's just situational, right? Rizwan's runs have come at a well, you know, they're impactful. They're actually generating wins for Multan. Whereas Babar has been sort of, his runs even have been sort of laborious given what Karachi actually needs. I think they're averaging in the first 6 overs something like 40 runs, so only just over 6 runs per over. So it's not all his fault. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people who have come out and have heavily criticized Babar, and I think those people are also wrong in saying that, you know, Babar's out of form or Babar hasn't, you know, he's at fault for this and that. No. To your point, one man doesn't make a team, but at the same token, it would be hard for me to justify making a best PSL 11. I just can't have him in there because I think there's been other players, who haven't had that much, stats-wise, haven't really done, you know, aren't up there with him, but have made more of an overall impact for their team.
Yeah, so you mentioned Mohammad Rizwan had more of an impact, and yes, Multan Sultans have won, but on the same token, in this 11 that you agreed with, Shan Masood's in there, Tim David's in there, Khushdil Shah's in there, Imran Tahir's in there. You've got David Wiley's in there. So besides him, you've got 5 other players from Multan in your playing 11. Then on the same side, you're telling me that Rizwan has been impactful in Multan Sultan's wins, when the reality is I don't remember any of his innings being the sole reason for why why Multan won a certain game. It's always been Shan Masood with the greatest innings, Tim David with the highest strike rates and a blister of a knock, Khushdil Shah with 3 or 4 wickets, Imran Tahir with 3 or 4 wickets. It's never been, Mohammad Rizwan scored 100 runs and he was the reason, whereas at least Babar got them close in many instances.
He's not the sole reason, right? Multan has been playing as a team. I'm just saying that his knocks have actually served a purpose for Multan, rather than Babar, where you could sort of say that whether he scored those runs or not, they were going to lose anyways. So, you know, I think until yesterday, Karachi hasn't even come close to a victory at all. So those runs are sort of almost meaningless because it's like, okay, you scored those runs, but to what end, right? And as I said, for me, if you're going to make a PSL 11, you've got to have an impact. You just have to go out there and, you know, put in a performance where it helps your team rather than ending up in a losing cause. And again, I'm not putting everything on Babar's shoulders. And I think he's probably been Karachi's best player, but the standard was so low to begin with.
Honestly, I mean, I don't agree with you, and we'll leave it at that. But I mean, I'm gonna say one more thing. If you're counting impact on that token, then Umar Akmal and Sarfraz should be in this playing 11 because they actually won Quetta a game or two solely based on their performances and bringing them in. Whereas Babar, I mean, literally nobody is supporting him, and they haven't lost by 50, 100 runs. They've lost by 10, 20 runs, and that is a few sixes from Sherjeel if he had done it, or somebody in the middle order sticking around and hitting a few more sixes, or bowlers taking a wicket or two at the dead. That's all I'll say. I think if there's any other reason, like for me, I would exclude Babar for Alex Hales. From an average standpoint, they're both similar, but Alex Hales has a much higher strike rate, and that's kind of what I think is a super sub. I would bring Alex Hales in for Babar Azam, if anything. Similarly, Shoaib Malik, I feel like he could be switched around with David Weiss. And that's kind of what I'm looking forward to in the next 3 games that each team plays, as well as the playoffs, is do some of these super subs come in place? So, for example, for David Wheely, he's already not going to be playing the rest of the season, I believe. And so Haris Rauf could be a good replacement for him. And Imran Tahir, I feel like Rashid Khan's a good replacement. And the only reason I say that is I know Rashid Khan hasn't taken wickets, but if you look at his economy rate, it's been really good. He's been extremely economical. Now, I don't know if it's the batsman giving him too much respect, because he hasn't been taking wickets, but he's been able to put and maintain quite a bit of pressure on. And he's a handy batter. I mean, this guy comes in and hits a few sixes. That helps.
I think they've actually made a strategy. The teams that play him have decided, all right, we're just going to block him and we're going to go after the other bowlers. Even Haris Rauf, he's taken a lot of wickets, but he's been
expensive.
He's been hit around, yeah. So, and even Shaheen Shah, I think Shaheen Shah's had like maybe 2 games where he's taken both wickets and been economical, whereas in the other games he's taken wickets, but he's been expensive.
That's absolutely, and that's one of the reasons why I've got so many spinners in this playing 11, because you'd say, oh, only 2 seamers and Shaheen Shah and David Wheely.
Well, that's where Zaman Khan comes in. I really think, look, I'm not the biggest fan of Zaman Khan. I think if he were to play international cricket, he would be found out. But he's actually been very good for Lahore. He's been tight. He bowls like he reminds me of if you remember what was his name? The Bangladeshi pacer back in the day, Khalid Mahmood. He looks like a sort of he looks like a better version of Khalid Mahmood, where he's going to keep it tight. He's going to keep bowling in the right areas. So he's been doing his thing, right? I'm not advocating him to be part of the Pakistani squad, but I think you've got to have a third pacer in there. You can't have Khushdil Shah, Imran Tahir, Shadab Khan, all bowling after Willie, and because even Willie is not.
And my argument would be that if you look at the seamers, and you made this point yourself, Shaheen Shah has been expensive in a lot of games, and if it weren't for some of those really economical games where the batting team just couldn't get out, couldn't deliver, he's been expensive. Zaman Khan as well, he's like 9 runs per over. Haris Rauf is almost touching 10. Shaheen Shah is literally the only one in the 7s as a seamers, or maybe 8s actually. If you look at the spinners, they've all been in the 6s, the ones that I've mentioned here, and they've been getting wickets, including Rashid Khan. He's in the economy rates of 6s. So if the pitch conditions are conducive to spin, why bring in a third seamer? That's like using that England logic of, no, I'm going to bring Stuart Broad and Anderson and Wood, and I don't care what the Pakistani pitch conditions are.
Well, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. In my team, I have Imran Tahir, I have Shadab, I have Khushdil, I even have Malik. I just have, instead of Babar, I have Zaman Khan, who plays as the third pacer, if you want to call him that, in my team. But let's see. This is we're more than halfway through, but I think we may be changing these teams. Who do you think in the next coming weeks could find their way into your starting 11?
Alex Hales.
Alex Hales.
And Rashid Khan for Imran Tahir. I think Imran Tahir is gonna.
Well, Rashid Khan has to go back to Afghanistan. He's done.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he's not playing the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Lahore's screwed.
Well, I'm hoping Lahore's batting's going to see them through. Fakhar Zaman seems to be scoring a 50 every game.
Yeah.
And at some point, Haris Rauf and Shaheen Shah should click economically as well. But I think the one player who I think may force themselves into the squad would be the Islamabad player. Jason Roy, Quetta.
Jason Roy.
Yeah. Quetta.
Yeah, he's only played 3 innings and been doing phenomenally besides the 3rd inning, so he could definitely feature. But again, he's an opener, right? He's an opener,
and you got to find a way to slot him in there. Shah and Fakhar, right? And that's the thing. When I was putting my team, just the same problem. We're the middle order batsmen, right?
Yeah.
No, I think we're pretty much in agreement, except for Babar Azam. But guys, let's see what you guys think. Should Babar Azam be in the PSL 11 or not? I say no. Tawfiq says yes. Okay, so in terms of the standings, who do you think is going to go through then? You picked Peshawar to beat Quetta. So you think Peshawar is going to get that playoff spot?
Yep, I certainly hope so.
And who do you think is going to make the final? Are you still going with Islamabad and who's your second team?
Well, it was
I think
Lahore,
it-
but now I think it's Multan for sure. Is going to be in the finals. Is what I'm predicting now, at least. Not that we can change our predictions.
Yeah.
And then the second team, I think I would have still stuck to Islamabad, but there are recent talks that Shadab got injured in that game, right? But do you know what exactly happened?
No, I just saw him tweet saying, I don't know the full extent of my injury. Yeah, without Shadab, they can't win. Actually, even with Shadab, I don't think they're going to they're too inconsistent. And they have Hassan Ali, who is a liability. And this is going to be very interesting. Will Islamabad make the same mistake as Pakistan and continue to play this guy for the rest of the tournament? He is a liability. I can see it. Anybody can see he's not a T20 bowler. He just is not. And if Islamabad,
But he is a test bowler?
I think he's more of a test bowler than he is at least a T20. He's an ODI bowler for sure, but I think he's more suited for T20 for test than he is for T20. He's just getting slapped around game after game after game. I can't
Johnny,
remember a game.
literally all the seamers are getting slapped around. Shaheen Shafidi is getting slapped around.
But he's still having his moments, right? Hassan Ali, has he taken a wicket this entire tournament? Come on, man.
Incoming hat trick, okay?
He's gonna pick up the 8, 9, and 10 when they've
Hat trick is hat trick, and it's gonna come in the final.
when they've already conceded 200 runs. So I hope that Islamabad will drop him because if Islamabad wants to win this tournament, they cannot have a bowler who's conceding 45 runs every game without taking a wicket.
They just found Asif Ali, okay? He just got 2 wickets yesterday, and he almost picked up a third wicket if it wasn't for a catch. That again shows you how conducive these pitches are for spin.
Yeah, there you go, man. Asif Ali's taking wickets. Hassan Ali is struggling. By the way, that's another batsman who's underperformed, but we'll get to that later. Asif Ali. But there you have it, guys. That is the PSL Mid Season XI. It is going to be interesting to see where we go from here. And let's see where we land. But if you do like this content, please subscribe. And we will then see you later. Thank you very much.